I got a Ring camera alert at work and watched my wife let another man into our house. What I did next destroyed both. The Tuesday afternoon status meeting was exactly as boring as every other Tuesday afternoon status meeting. My boss Rick was droning on about quarterly projections while I half listened, doodling on my notepad and thinking about what Sarah and I should do for dinner. Maybe that Thai place she liked? Maybe just order pizza and watch a movie after our daughter went to bed. Normal thought, comfortable thoughts. The thoughts of a man whose biggest concern was whether to get pad thai or pizza. My phone buzzed on the table at 2:17 p.m. A Ring notification. Someone at our front door. I almost ignored it. Probably a delivery driver. We'd installed the Ring doorbell camera 6 months ago after our neighborhood got hit by a wave of package thefts. 3 houses on our street had stuff stolen right off their porches in broad daylight, so Sarah and I decided to join the security camera club. Best $200 we'd spent, I thought at the time. Gave us peace of mind. I had no idea that $200 camera was about to give me front row seats to the destruction of my marriage. But in that meeting, I was just mildly curious. Sarah had mentioned she'd be showing houses all afternoon on the west side of town, so she wouldn't be home. Maybe she'd ordered something and it was arriving early? I swiped open the Ring app while Rick continued talking about metrics nobody cared about. The live feed loaded, and my entire world stopped. My wife was standing on our front porch. That wasn't the shocking part. The shocking part was the man standing with, late 20s maybe. Athletic build, well-dressed in jeans and a button-down shirt. Dark hair, confident posture, standing close to Sarah. Too close. And then Sarah leaned in and kissed him. Not a friendly peck. Not an awkward social greeting. A real kiss. Intimate. Familiar. The kind of kiss that said this wasn't the first time. Her hand on his chest. His hand on her waist. 5 seconds that felt like 5 hours as I stared at my phone screen in that conference room, unable to process what I was seeing. Then Sarah unlocked our front door. Our home. The house we'd bought together 5 years ago. And they went inside. His hand moved to her lower back as they entered, guiding her in with the easy familiarity of someone who'd done this before. The door closed behind them. The Ring feed returned to the empty porch. The motion detection timeout ended and the camera went back to standby mode. I sat there holding my phone, hands shaking, unable to breathe properly. Rick was still talking. Someone was asking a question about resource allocation. The meeting continued around me like nothing had happened, like my entire reality hadn't just fractured into 1,000 pieces. Tom, what do you think about the timeline? I looked up. Rick was staring at me. Everyone was staring at me. Sorry? I need to step out. Emergency call. I grabbed my phone and left the conference room before anyone could respond. Walked down the hallway on autopilot, found the men's bathroom, locked myself in a stall, sat on the closed toilet seat and opened the Ring app again with trembling fingers. I went to the history section, scrolled back through the recordings. My stomach churned as I found what I was looking for. Today at 2:15 p.m., Sarah and Mystery Man arriving. That kiss. Them entering. I scrolled further back. Last Thursday at 2:03 p.m., the same man arriving. Sarah greeting him at the door. Same kiss. Same intimate body language. Them entering together. Tuesday last week at 2:11 p.m. Same man. Same kiss. Same entry. Thursday before that, same pattern. Tuesday before that, same pattern. I kept scrolling, my horror growing with each recording. This man had been coming to my house every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon at 2 p.m. for the past 3 months. 12 weeks. 24 visits. Every single one followed the same pattern. He'd arrive, Sarah would greet him with that kiss. They'd enter the house together, and roughly 2 or 3 hours later, he'd leave. I jumped forward to exit recordings. There he was at 4:47 p.m. today from last week's Thursday visit, walking out of our house looking relaxed and satisfied, getting into his car, a silver Honda Accord, and driving away. I checked his arrival and departure times across multiple visits. Always arrived between 2 hours and 2:15 p.m. Always left between 4:35 p.m. 2 to 3 hours every single visit. 24 visits over 3 months. My wife was having an affair, a systematic, calculated, ongoing affair that had been happening in our home while I was reliably at work every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon. I needed to throw up. I leaned over the toilet, but nothing came up. Just dry heaves and the taste of bile and the overwhelming sensation that reality had tilted sideways and I couldn't find my footing. How had I not known? How had I not suspected? But even as I asked myself that question, I knew the answer. Sarah had been perfect about it. Meticulous. Every Tuesday and Thursday, she'd told me she had afternoon showings or client meetings that would keep her busy until 5 p.m. Showing that property on Riverside Drive, she'd say, Tuesday morning. Back-to-back consultations with potential buyers, she'd text Thursday afternoon. And I'd believed her completely. Why wouldn't I? Sarah was a real estate agent. Her schedule was flexible and unpredictable. Afternoon showings and client meetings were normal parts of her job. I had no reason to doubt her, except now I could see the pattern clearly. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, every single week for 3 months. While I was in meetings and writing code and planning sprints, my wife was in our home with another man. I sat in that bathroom stall for 20 minutes, scrolling through Ring footage, my brain trying desperately to make sense of something. That made no sense. Sarah loved me. I was sure she loved me. We'd been together for over a decade, married for 7 years. We had a good life, a good marriage, didn't we? Let me tell you about Sarah and me, because I need you to understand that this wasn't some obviously failing marriage. This wasn't a relationship that everyone could see was doomed. From the outside, hell, from the inside most of the time, we looked like we had it figured out. We met in college when I was 21 and she was 19. I was studying computer science at Arizona State. Sarah was in the business school, interested in real estate even back then. We met at a party thrown by a mutual friend, talked straight about everything and nothing, and exchanged numbers. We dated for 3 years while finishing school. Sarah was ambitious, driven, funny. She knew what she wanted: a career in real estate, a nice home, a family eventually, a comfortable life. I wanted the same things. We aligned on values, on goals, on how we saw our future. I got a job right out of college at a software company in Phoenix making $62,000. Sarah got her real estate license and started working for a residential brokerage. We got engaged after 4 years together, married a year later. I was 25, she was 23. The first years of marriage were good. We bought a small starter home. Both worked hard at our careers, traveled when we could afford it, built a life together. I got promoted twice, first to senior developer at $78,000, then to lead engineer at $85,000. Sarah's real estate career had its ups and downs, but she was making decent money, around $55,000, $60,000 in commissions annually. 5 years ago, we upgraded to a nicer house in a better neighborhood, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, good schools nearby because we were starting to think about kids. I'd bought the house before we were married using inheritance money from my grandfather, $180,000 purchase price that I paid cash for. We'd spent marital money fixing it up and improving it, but the deed was in my name only. At the time, it felt like a smart financial move since I had the cash available. Now I was grateful for that decision in ways I never anticipated. 3 years ago, Sarah got pregnant. Our daughter Emma was born when I was 31 and Sarah was 29. Beautiful, perfect, the light of both our lives. Sarah took 3 months maternity leave, then went back to real estate part-time, working around Emma's schedule and my work hours. Being parents was hard but good. We had the normal struggles: sleep deprivation, figuring out childcare, balancing work and parenting, but we were partners through it. At least I thought we were. About 2 years ago, when Emma was 1, Sarah's real estate career really took off. She joined a more prestigious brokerage, started getting higher-end clients, closed bigger deals. Her income jumped to $75,000 her first year with the new firm, then $92,000 last year. She was proud of that success, and so was I. Look at us, I'd said when she told me about hitting the $90K mark. Combined income over $180,000. We're officially doing well. She'd smiled and kissed me. We make a good team. A good team. That's what I'd thought we were. But looking back now from that bathroom stall at work, scrolling through months of Ring footage showing my wife's systematic betrayal, I could see things I'd dismissed or rationalized away. The changes had started about a year ago, subtle at first. Sarah joined an expensive gym, not the regular LA Fitness where I had a membership, but some boutique place called Elevation Fitness that cost $150 per month. When I'd questioned the expense, she'd said she needed something for herself, something that wasn't just work and mom duties. I need to feel good about myself again, she'd said. Is that okay? Of course it was okay. I wanted her to feel good about herself, so I didn't object to the $150 monthly gym membership. She started going to the gym 5 days a week, usually during Emma's preschool hours. She'd drop Emma off at 8 a.m., go to the gym from 9:30 a.m., then have the rest of the day for her real estate work and errands, before picking Emma up at 3 p.m. Sarah lost about 15 pounds over 6 months, started dressing differently, trendier clothes, more form-fitting outfits, more into her appearance. She looked great, honestly. I told her that frequently. You've been working so hard at the gym, I'd say. You look amazing. She'd smile and thank me, but there was something in her expression I couldn't quite read. Pride, yes, but something else too. Something I didn't understand. She bought new lingerie. I'd seen the charges on our credit card. $200 at Victoria's Secret, $180 at some boutique lingerie store. But I never saw her wear any of it. When I'd ask about it, she'd say she bought it to feel sexy for herself, not for anyone else. "It's about my confidence," she'd explain. "Not everything is for you, Tom." And I'd feel guilty for even asking, like I was being possessive or controlling. So I stopped asking. Our sex life decreased over that same year. Not dramatically, we'd gone from 2-3 times per week to once per week, maybe twice. When I'd initiate, Sarah was often too tired, or not in the mood, or stressed about work. When we did have sex, it was fine, but not particularly passionate. Routine. Mechanical almost. I'd attributed it to normal marriage stuff. We had a toddler. We both had demanding careers. We were tired. This was just what happened to couples who'd been together for 10 years and had a kid. The passion naturally dimmed over time, right? But while Sarah was less interested in sex with me, she seemed more energetic overall, more upbeat, more engaged with her phone. She'd be texting and smiling, then tilt her phone away if I walked by. If I asked who she was texting, she'd say, "Just a client," or "Just a friend from the gym." She started taking calls in other rooms. I'd hear her phone ring. She'd glance at it and say, "I need to take this," before walking into the bedroom or the garage or outside. When she'd come back, if I asked who called, she'd give vague answers. Just work stuff. A client with questions. My mom. Looking back, I realized she was never specific. Never said, "Oh, that was Jennifer asking about the house on Maple Street," or "That was my mom talking about Dad's birthday." Just vague deflections that I accepted because I trusted her completely. She had more weekend work obligations too. Saturday open houses that kept her busy for 4 or 5 hours. Sunday showings with demanding clients. Evening appointments that meant she'd leave at 7 p.m. and not return until 10 p.m. "Sorry, babe. This client can only meet after their workday," she'd explain. And I'd say, "No problem. Emma and I will have a daddy-daughter night." I was being understanding, supportive, flexible. All the things a good husband should be when his wife's career is thriving. I was also being completely, utterly blind to what was actually happening. Sitting in that bathroom stall, I thought about the past year with this new, horrible context. The gym membership wasn't about fitness. It was about looking good for someone else. The new lingerie wasn't for her confidence. It was for him. The decreased sex with me paired with increased energy overall meant she was getting it elsewhere. The phone secrecy, the vague answers, the weekend work obligations, all of it was cover for an affair. How many of those Saturday open houses had actually been open house? How many evening showings were real versus meeting him somewhere? Had the affair started with just Tuesday and Thursday afternoons? Or were there other times I didn't know about? I felt sick again, betrayed, humiliated, stupid for not seeing it sooner. All the signs had been there, I just hadn't wanted to see them. Had chosen to trust instead of suspect. Had believed my wife when she explained away every inconsistency. I checked the time. 3:15 p.m. I'd been in this bathroom for almost an hour. That man was probably still in my house with my wife. Doing what? I didn't want to imagine, but couldn't stop imagining. I needed to decide what to do. Drive home and confront them? Catch them in the act? But what would that accomplish? She'd make excuses, cry, promise it meant nothing, beg for forgiveness. He'd probably leave quickly. I'd be emotional and angry and wouldn't be thinking clearly. Or I could wait, gather evidence, build a case, protect myself before confronting her. The ring footage was just the beginning. I could access our financial records, phone records, find out more about who this man was and how deep this betrayal went. I wanted to confront them. God, I wanted to drive home right now and destroy them both. But something held me back. Some instinct that told me the man who acts rashly loses. The man who plans strategically wins. I left the bathroom, went back to my desk, told my manager I had a family emergency and needed to leave early. He was sympathetic, told me to take whatever time I need. I grabbed my laptop and walked out to the parking lot. It was 3:45 p.m. when I sat in my car, opened my laptop, and connected to my phone's hotspot. The Ring app loaded on the larger screen. I went to the live feed. His car was still in my driveway. That silver Honda Accord, parked right next to Sarah's white Toyota Camry. Both cars sitting there brazenly in broad daylight in front of our house where any neighbor could see. How had our neighbors not mentioned this? Had they not noticed? Or had they noticed but didn't want to get involved? Or worse, did they know and assume I knew and it was some kind of arrangement? I felt my face flush with humiliation. How many people knew? How long had this been going on before the Ring camera was installed 6 months ago? Had he been coming to our house even longer, and I only had footage of the most recent 3 months? I opened a new browser tab and went to our cell phone carrier's website, logged into the account Sarah and I shared, pulled up her phone records, scrolled through recent calls and texts. There were dozens of calls to one number that showed up multiple times per week, sometimes multiple times per day, duration ranging from 5 minutes to over an hour. Late evening calls, early morning calls, midday calls. I grabbed my phone and called the number from my cell. It rang 4 times, then went to a generic voicemail. "You've reached Jake Morrison. Leave a message." Jake Morrison. So that was his name. I hung up without leaving a message and immediately Googled Jake Morrison Phoenix. Several results came up. I clicked through them until I found a LinkedIn profile that matched. Jake Morrison, 28, personal trainer at Elevation Fitness. Elevation Fitness, Sarah's expensive gym. The gym she'd joined a year ago. The gym she went to 5 times per week. She'd met him at the gym. Had probably been attracted to him immediately. He was conventionally handsome in a way I wasn't. Muscular and younger and probably exciting compared to her married for 7 years husband who wrote code all day. I kept scrolling through his Facebook page. Public profile, privacy settings, clearly not his strong suit. Photos of him at the gym, at bars, at the beach. And then I found what I wasn't expecting. Photos from what was clearly a wedding. His wedding. Jake Morrison was married. I clicked through to his wife's profile, Michelle Morrison. Pretty, blonde, probably late 20s. And in her recent photos, 2 young kids. A boy who looked about 4 and a girl who looked about 2. Jake Morrison wasn't just having an affair with my wife. He was a married father having an affair with my wife while his own children were in daycare or with babysitters or wherever they were while he spent Tuesday and Thursday afternoons in my house sleeping with my wife. This wasn't just destroying my family. It was destroying his family too. Michelle Morrison had no idea her husband was cheating. Those 2 kids had no idea their father was betraying their mother. I felt rage building, not just at Sarah, at Jake Morrison too. This smug 28-year-old personal trainer who was home wrecking 2 families so he could have an affair with a married woman. I checked the ring feed again, 4:35 p.m. His car was still there. Then at 4:42 p.m., motion detection activated. The front door opened. Jake Morrison walked out, adjusting his shirt, running his hand through his hair. Behind him, Sarah appeared in the doorway. They had another brief kiss, then he got in his car and drove away. Sarah closed the door. Through the Ring camera's fisheye lens, I could see her smile before she went back inside. She was smiling, happy, satisfied. I watched her smile and something inside me went cold and hard. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a one-time moment of weakness she'd regretted immediately. This was a sustained, calculated affair that she'd been maintaining for months, possibly longer. She'd created an entire system, Tuesdays and Thursdays, when Tom's reliably at work, when Emma's at preschool, when the house is empty and no one will know. She'd been living a double life, loving wife and mother in one context, Jake Morrison's affair partner in another. And she'd been managing both roles perfectly until one random Ring notification exposed everything. I sat in that parking lot for another 30 minutes, watching the clock, thinking through options. It was 5:15 p.m. Sarah would be expecting me home around 6 p.m., would act completely normal, would ask about my day, would serve dinner, would help put Emma to bed, would play the role of devoted wife while knowing exactly what she'd been doing just hours earlier. I couldn't go home and pretend everything was normal. I couldn't look at her face and act like I didn't know. But I also couldn't go home and confront her emotionally, without a plan, without protection. I needed help, professional help, legal help, strategic help. I pulled up Google again and searched divorce attorney Phoenix. Started scrolling through results, looking for someone who could see me immediately. Someone who specialized in infidelity cases. Someone who would help me understand my rights and options before I made any moves. Because one thing was clear, my marriage was over. The moment Sarah kissed Jake Morrison on our front porch, the moment she brought him into our home, the moment she smiled after he left, that was the moment our marriage ended. I just needed to make sure that when it ended legally, I was protected, Emma was protected, and Sarah and Jake Morrison both faced consequences for destroying 2 families. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah, stopping at grocery store on way home. Need anything? I stared at that text. The casual normalcy of it. The performance of being a considerate wife asking if her husband needed anything from the store, sent just minutes after her affair partner had left our house. I typed back, "No thanks, see you at home." But I wouldn't be going home. Not yet. I had calls to make, evidence to preserve, plans to formulate. Sarah thought she'd been so careful, thought she'd created a perfect system that I'd never discover. Thought I was the oblivious husband who'd never suspect, never question, never find out. She'd forgotten about the Ring camera we'd installed together 6 months ago, and that oversight was going to cost her everything. I didn't go home that Tuesday evening. Instead, I drove to a Hampton Inn 20 minutes from our house, checked in using my personal credit card, and sat on the edge of the hotel bed staring at my laptop screen. The first thing I did was protect the evidence. I opened the Ring app and began systematically downloading every video file from the past 3 months. Each arrival, each departure, every moment of Jake Morrison's silver Honda Accord pulling into my driveway and leaving hours later. The app only stored footage for 60 days on the basic plan, but I'd upgraded to the premium plan that kept 180 days of history, a decision I'd made casually 6 months ago that was now invaluable. Download, save to laptop, upload to Google Drive, upload to Dropbox, copy to an external hard drive I'd grabbed from my car. Every piece of evidence preserved in multiple locations where Sarah couldn't delete it, where Jake couldn't make it disappear, where it would exist permanently as proof of what they'd done. The downloads took 2 hours. While files transferred, I created a spreadsheet. Date, time of arrival, time of departure, duration of visit, 24 entries over 3 months. The pattern was so consistent it was almost mechanical. Every Tuesday and Thursday, 2 and 15 p.m. arrival, 4 to 30 if you have 5 p.m. departure, 2 to 3 hours each visit, 48 total visits if I extrapolated back before the Ring camera was installed. Next, I accessed our joint bank account. Sarah and I had always kept our finances mostly combined. One joint checking account where our paychecks deposited, one joint savings account, individual retirement accounts, and one shared credit card. I'd never had reason to scrutinize the statements before. I trusted Sarah completely with money. That trust was about to reveal something that made my stomach turn. I filtered transactions by payee and found them. Venmo payments from Sarah to Jake Morrison. $200 here, $300 there. Sometimes $200 to $50. Monthly payments going back 8 months, always labeled innocuously. Home maintenance, handyman services, yard work, house repairs. Sarah had been paying Jake Morrison, paying her affair partner. I added up the total, $2,100 over 8 months. What was that money for? Was he charging her for his time? Were they splitting costs of hotel rooms or restaurants? Was this hush money? Whatever it was, Sarah had been using our joint account, my money combined with hers, to fund her affair. Every Venmo payment came from our shared checking account. Money I'd earned was going to the man sleeping with my wife. I felt rage building again, hot and acidic in my chest. But I couldn't afford rage right now. I needed cold calculation. So I screenshotted every Venmo transaction, added them to a folder labeled Financial Evidence, and kept digging. Phone records next. I'd already identified Jake's number from the call logs. Now I counted 147 phone calls between Sarah's number and Jake's number over the past 3 months alone. Calls at 6:30 a.m. before I woke up. Calls at 11 p.m. after I went to bed. Calls during her lunch breaks and errands. The longest call, 1 hour and 43 minutes on a Saturday when Sarah had told me she was at an open house. I added call logs to the evidence folder. Then I did something I'd never done before. I tried to access Sarah's text messages. We had a family plan through Verizon, but text message content wasn't available through the online portal, just metadata showing numbers and timestamps. But I knew Sarah's iCloud password. We'd set up our accounts together years ago and used the same password for convenience. Plus our wedding date. I logged into iCloud, navigated to messages, and there they were. Hundreds of text messages between Sarah and Jake. I started reading, my hands shaking, my vision blurring with tears and rage. Sarah to Jake, 6:47. Can't stop thinking about yesterday. You're incredible. Jake to Sarah, 7:15. Same. Tuesday can't come fast enough. Sarah to Jake, 10:32 p.m. Tom's asleep. Wish I was with you instead. Jake to Sarah, 10:35 p.m. Soon, baby. Thursday afternoon, all yours. Sarah to Jake, 2:48 p.m. Sent while I was at work. Doors unlocked. Wearing what you like. Message after message. Week after week. Detailing their affair in explicit terms. I won't repeat here. They talked about what they did together. They talked about me. Tom has no idea. Tom's so oblivious. Tom thinks I'm showing houses, LOL. They talked about Jake's wife, Michelle. Michelle's getting suspicious, need to be more careful. Told Michelle I picked up extra training clients. They were both lying to their spouses, laughing about how easy it was, planning their next encounter while their families remained ignorant. I took screenshots of everything, every incriminating message, every cruel comment about me, every logistical coordination, every I love you they sent each other. Yes, they'd said I love you multiple times, which meant this wasn't just physical, it was emotional too. By midnight, I had a comprehensive evidence file, 24 Ring videos, financial records showing $2,100 in payments, phone logs showing 147 calls, and hundreds of text message screenshots. Undeniable, time-stamped, comprehensive proof that Sarah had been having an affair with Jake Morrison for at least 8 months, possibly longer. I texted Sarah from the hotel. Emergency at work. Server crash. Need to stay late to fix. Don't wait up. She responded immediately. Oh no, that sucks. Good luck, baby. Love you. Love you, she wrote, probably from our bed, possibly still thinking about Jake Morrison. definitely not feeling guilty about what she'd been doing for months. I didn't respond. At 1 a.m., I Googled divorce attorneys again. Found one with excellent reviews and a specialization in high-conflict divorce. Patricia Hernandez Esquire. Her website said she offered emergency consultations for urgent situations. I filled out the contact form explaining briefly that I'd discovered my wife's affair through video evidence and needed immediate legal guidance. Then I tried to sleep. Failed miserably. Lay in that hotel bed, replaying Ring footage in my mind, seeing Sarah kiss Jake Morrison, seeing him touch her, seeing them enter my house together. At 7 a.m. Wednesday, my phone rang. Patricia Hernandez's office. Mr. Davis, Ms. Hernandez reviewed your intake form. She can see you this morning at 9 a.m. if you're available. I'll be there. I called in sick to work. Drove to Patricia Hernandez's office in Scottsdale. She was late 40s, sharp-eyed, professional but warm. I showed her everything, the videos, the financial records, the text messages, the timeline I'd created. She watched the Ring footage without expression, then looked up at me. How long have you known? Since yesterday afternoon, 2:17 p.m. to be exact. That's when I got the Ring notification. And you haven't confronted your wife? No. I needed to understand my options first. Make sure I protected myself before making any moves. She nodded approvingly. That's smart. Most people confront immediately and regret it. Emotional confrontation go well. Let's talk about your situation. She explained Arizona's divorce law, community property state, meaning assets acquired during marriage split 50-50 regardless of who earned what. But the house I'd bought before marriage with inheritance money? That was separate property, mine alone, though any appreciation in value during the marriage would be community property. You said you paid $180,000 cash before marriage. What's it worth now? Probably $320,000. We've put about $40,000 of marital money into improvements, so roughly $140,000 appreciation plus $40,000 improvements equals $180,000 in community property value. She'd have a claim to half of that, $90,000. But the original $180,000 and the remaining appreciation, yours. That was better than I'd feared. The house would fundamentally remain mine. What about custody of our daughter? Arizona presumes joint custody is in the child's best interest unless there's evidence otherwise. The affair alone won't affect custody. Courts don't usually consider parental infidelity when determining what's best for the child. Does Sarah have any substance abuse issues? History of abuse or neglect? Mental health concerns? No. She's a good mother. I hate her right now, but I can't deny she's good with Emma. Then expect 50-50 custody, possibly you as the primary residential parent since you have the house and presumably more schedule stability, but close to equal parenting time. And financially, you make $98,000, she makes $92,000. Incomes are nearly equal, so spousal support is unlikely. Child support will depend on the custody arrangement, but probably minimal given the income parity. You'll split marital assets, bank accounts, retirement accounts, any joint property. This won't be financially devastating for you. What about the evidence? Does it matter that I have proof she cheated? Arizona is a no-fault divorce state. Infidelity doesn't affect asset division or custody, but it does affect leverage. The evidence you have, especially those videos and text messages, gives you enormous social and personal leverage. She knows that if this becomes public, her reputation suffers. That might make her more willing to negotiate favorably to keep things quiet. I don't want to keep things quiet. She looked at me carefully. What do you want? I want everyone to know what she did. Our families, our friends, our community. I want her to face social consequences for betraying. I want Jake Morrison's wife to know what her husband's been doing. I want both of them exposed completely. That's understandable emotionally, but I need to caution you. Public exposure can backfire. It can make you look vindictive rather than sympathetic. It can complicate custody discussions if you're painting yourself as someone seeking revenge. Are you sure that's the route you want to take? I'm not seeking revenge. I'm seeking truth. There's a difference. If I stay quiet, Sarah controls the narrative. She tells people we grew apart, that the divorce is mutual and amicable, that we're both moving on peacefully. Meanwhile, I know she destroyed our marriage by sleeping with someone else for months. Why should she get to protect her reputation when she didn't protect our marriage? Patricia nodded slowly. Okay, if you want to go that route, we need to be strategic about it. The exposure needs to seem natural, not orchestrated. You need to maintain the moral high ground, and you need to be prepared for the fallout. She will hate you for it. Her family might turn on you. Mutual friends will take sides. I understand. Good. Then here's what I recommend. Gather any remaining evidence you can find. Give yourself a week or two to make sure you have everything. During that time, act normal with Sarah. I know it's hard, but don't let her know you know. Once you have comprehensive evidence, we'll file for divorce and serve her papers. At that point, you can share the evidence with whomever you choose, but the divorce filing comes first, establishing that you're acting within legal bounds. What if I want to tell Jake's wife, Michelle, what's happening? That's your prerogative. You're a private citizen. You're allowed to share factual information about your own situation. Technically, that could expose you to a defamation lawsuit if you lie, but since you have video evidence, that's not a concern. Just be factual, not emotional. We spent another hour discussing strategy. I paid her retainer, $5,000, which I put on my personal credit card Sarah didn't have access to. She'd begin preparing divorce documents immediately, to be filed when I gave the word. I left her office at 11:30 a.m. feeling more grounded than I had in 24 hours. I had a plan. I had representation. I had next steps. Now I needed to execute the hardest part, going home and pretending everything was normal while I finished gathering evidence. I went home that afternoon at my normal 6 p.m. time. Sarah was in the kitchen making dinner. Emma was playing with blocks in the living room, a perfectly normal domestic scene that made me feel sick. "Hey, babe." Sarah greeted me with a smile and a kiss on the cheek. "How was the server emergency?" "Stressful, but we got it fixed." "I'm glad. You must be exhausted. I made your favorite, chicken parmesan." She was being attentive, loving, the perfect wife. I wanted to scream at her, wanted to throw the ring footage in her face, wanted to ask how she could kiss me and make me dinner after spending yesterday afternoon in bed with Jake Morrison. But I didn't. I smiled. I thanked her. I ate dinner with my family. I played with Emma. I helped with bedtime. I went through all the normal routines while screaming inside. That became my life for the next 2 weeks. Performing normalcy while dying internally. Going to work during the day but taking long lunches to meet with Patricia, to organize evidence, to prepare for what was coming. During that time, I discovered more. I set up a more sophisticated monitoring system. Not technically legal, but I was past caring about technical legalities. I installed keylogger software on our shared home computer that Sarah used for work. I monitored her email, her social media messages, her browsing history. I found that Sarah had been researching hotels in Phoenix, had been looking at weekend getaway packages, had been shopping for lingerie online, the expensive stuff I'd seen charges for but never seen her wear. I found emails between Sarah and her best friend Rachel, where Sarah complained about me. "Tom is so boring lately, so predictable. Jake makes me feel alive again." And Rachel's response, "You deserve to be happy. Just be careful." So Rachel knew. Sarah's best friend knew about the affair and had encouraged it. I added that to my mental list of relationships that were over. I also hired a private investigator. Not because I needed more evidence. I had plenty, but because I wanted to know everything. The PI followed Jake Morrison for a week, documented his patterns, confirmed he was indeed a trainer at Elevation Fitness, confirmed he was married to Michelle with 2 young children, confirmed he was still visiting my house every Tuesday and Thursday. The PI also discovered something interesting. Jake was meeting Sarah at other times too. Saturday mornings at a coffee shop while Michelle thought he was at the gym. Wednesday evenings at a hotel while I thought Sarah was at evening showings, and Michelle thought Jake was with a client. The affair was more extensive than even the ring footage showed. They weren't just Tuesday, Thursday afternoon encounters. They were seeing each other at least 4 or 5 times per week. Discovering the affair, I had everything I need. Patricia had prepared divorce documents. I had comprehensive evidence files organized into folders. I had scripts prepared for difficult conversations. And I had a plan for how to expose everything in a way that ensured maximum truth with minimum ability for Sarah to spin the narrative. On a Saturday morning, I made my first move. I called my parents. "Mom, Dad, I need to tell you something serious. Sarah's been having an affair. I have video proof. I'm filing for divorce next week, but before I do, I want to gather family together so everyone knows the truth." Silence. Then my mother's shocked voice. "Tom, are you sure? I have ring camera footage of the man coming to our house twice a week for 3 months. I have text messages between them talking about the affair. I have financial records showing she's been paying him. I'm absolutely sure." "Oh, honey, we're so sorry. What do you need?" "I'm planning a family dinner next Saturday. I want you there. I want Sarah's parents there. I want to show everyone the evidence at once so Sarah can't tell different stories to different people. Can you come?" "Of course. We'll be there." I called Sarah's parents next. That was harder. I liked my in-laws. They'd always treated me well, welcomed me into their family, been supportive grandparents to Emma. Telling them their daughter had betrayed me felt terrible, but they deserved to know the truth. "Hi, Linda. Hi, Robert. I need to talk to you about something difficult. I've discovered that Sarah has been having an affair. I have substantial evidence. I'm going to be filing for divorce. But before I do, I want to invite you to dinner next Saturday so I can explain everything in person and show you what I've discovered. I think you deserve to know the truth directly from me." Linda's voice was shocked, disbelieving. "Tom, There must be some mistake. Sarah would never. I have video footage, Linda. Ring camera footage of the man coming to our house repeatedly while I'm at work. I have text messages between them. I have financial records. There's no mistake. Silence. Then Robert's voice, gravelly and upset. We'll be there Saturday. The invitations went out that evening. I framed it as a family dinner to Sarah. Told her I thought it would be nice to have both sets of parents over for a meal together since we hadn't done that in a while. Sarah seemed pleased. That's a sweet idea. I'll make my lasagna. Your parents love that. She had no idea what was coming. Saturday arrived. I'd taken Emma to my brother's house that morning. Can you watch her tonight? And possibly for a few days after? Things are about to get complicated. My brother knew everything. I'd confided in him the week before. Whatever you need, man. Emma can stay here as long as necessary. By 6 p.m., both sets of parents were seated in our living room, looking uncomfortable and confused. Sarah kept glancing at me, sensing something was off, but unable to pinpoint what. I'd set up my laptop connected to our TV, had the presentation ready to go, had printed copies of key evidence in folders for each person. At 6:15, I started. Thank you all for coming. I know this was short notice, and I haven't explained why I asked you here. I'm going to explain now, and I apologize in advance because what I'm about to show you is going to be upsetting. Sarah's face went pale. She knew. Suddenly, she knew. 3 weeks ago, I received a Ring camera notification while I was at work. When I checked the alert, I saw Sarah greeting a man at our front door. This man. I pulled up Jake Morrison's Facebook profile on the TV screen. His name is Jake Morrison. He's a personal trainer at Sarah's gym, and he's been having an affair with my wife for at least 8 months. Sarah stood up. Tom, wait. Sit down, Sarah. You'll have a chance to speak. But first, everyone is going to see the evidence. I played the Ring footage. 20 seconds of Jake arriving, Sarah kissing him, them entering the house together. My mother gasped. Sarah's mother started crying. My father's jaw. Robert looked like he wanted to hit something. This happened every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon for 3 months. That's how far back the Ring footage goes. 24 documented visits, each one lasting 2 to 3 hours. I pulled up the spreadsheet showing dates and times, showed the financial records of Venmo pay, read selected text messages aloud, the ones where Sarah said I was oblivious, where she coordinated meeting Jake, where she told him she loved him. The room was silent except for Linda's crying. Sarah sat frozen, tears streaming down her face, unable to speak. I handed out the printed folders. Here's complete documentation, videos, financial records, text messages, phone logs. I want you all to have this so you understand exactly what's been happening and why I'm filing for divorce. Then I turned to Sarah. Is there anything you want to say? Any explanation you'd like to offer? She looked at me with hatred and shame mixed together. How could you do this? Humiliate me like this in front of our parents? How could I? Sarah, you've been sleeping with another man in our house for months. You've been lying to me every single day. You've been using our joint money to pay your affair partner. You've told your friends I'm boring and predictable while pretending to be a loving wife. And you're asking how I could expose the truth? We could have handled this privately. No, because privately, you'd lie. You'd manipulate. You'd tell your parents one story and my parents another story and our friends a third story. I needed everyone to see the evidence at once so you couldn't control the narrative. Robert found his voice, looking at his daughter with disappointment. Is this true, Sarah? All of it? She couldn't answer, just sat there crying. My father asked the question I'd been dreading. Does Jake Morrison's wife know? Not yet, I said. But she will. Tomorrow morning I'm sending her copies of everything. She deserves to know what her husband's been doing. That's when Sarah lost it. You can't. You'll destroy his family. He destroyed his family himself. Michelle Morrison deserves the truth just like I deserve the truth. Just like everyone in this room deserves the truth. The dinner ended shortly after. There was no meal, no reconciliation, no healing. My parents hugged me and told me they supported me completely. Sarah's parents left without speaking to either of us. Linda still crying, Robert looking devastated. Sarah and I were alone in the house. She turned to me, furious and broken. I want a divorce. I'm already filing, Monday morning. Patricia Hernandez is my attorney. You should get one too. I hate you for this. I don't care. You destroyed our marriage. I'm just making sure everyone knows the truth about why. She left that night, went to her parents' house. I didn't stop her. Sunday morning, I sent Michelle Morrison an email through Facebook. Kept it factual and brief. Michelle, my name is Tom Davis. I'm married to Sarah Davis. I recently discovered that your husband Jake has been having an affair with my wife for at least 8 months. I have video evidence, text messages, and financial records documenting their relationship. I thought you deserved to know. I'm attaching some of the evidence. I'm very sorry to be the one to tell you this. Tom, I attached selected Ring videos, screenshots of text messages, and the timeline. Then I waited. Michelle responded 3 hours later. Thank you for telling me. I suspected but didn't have proof. I'm getting an attorney tomorrow. Jake Morrison's life imploded over the next week. Michelle kicked him out, filed for divorce, sought primary custody of their 2 children. Word spread through Elevation Fitness. Jake lost several clients who didn't want to train with a cheater. His social media became a battlefield of angry comments from friends and family. Sarah's life imploded too. Her real estate career relied heavily on reputation and referrals. When word got out that she'd had an affair, especially after the video evidence started circulating among our social circle, her client base eroded. People didn't want their real estate agent to be someone known for lying and cheating. Her professional reputation never recovered. The divorce proceedings were relatively swift. Patricia negotiated a settlement where I kept the house, paying Sarah $90,000 for her share of the community property value over 3 years. We split our bank accounts and retirement accounts 50-50, and we agreed to joint custody of Emma with me as the primary residential parent. Sarah moved into an apartment across town, got a job with a different brokerage but struggled to rebuild her client base. Started therapy, according to mutual acquaintances, to deal with the shame and fallout. Jake Morrison moved to a different state after his divorce. Last I heard, he was in Colorado, still working as a trainer, with minimal custody of his kids who remained in Phoenix with Michelle. The first year after the divorce was hard. I went through therapy to process the betrayal, the loss, the complicated grief of losing not just my wife, but the life I'd thought we were building together. Dr. Patterson, my therapist, helped me understand that my anger was valid but couldn't become my identity. What happened to you was a profound betrayal, she said. But you can't let that betrayal define the rest of your life. You have to process it, learn from it, and eventually move forward. It took time, but gradually, I did move forward. 2 years after the divorce, I started dating again. Met Lisa through mutual friends. She was a teacher, divorced herself, with an 8-year-old son. We understood each other's trust issues, our hesitations, our need to take things slowly. I need you to know, I told her on our 3rd date, I have serious trust issues from my last marriage. My ex-wife had an affair that I discovered through our Ring camera. It's made me hypersensitive to inconsistencies and secretive behavior. Lisa's response was perfect. I appreciate you telling me. I have my own trust issues from my divorce. How about we both commit to radical honesty with each other? No games, no hiding, no ambiguity, just truth. That became the foundation of our relationship. Radical honesty, complete transparency, no secrecy. 3 years after the divorce, Lisa and I got engaged. Emma adored her, and I adored Lisa's son, Connor. We blended our families carefully, thoughtfully, with the hard-earned wisdom that comes from failed first marriages. 5 years after discovering Sarah's affair through that Ring camera notification, I'm 39. Emma is 8 and splitting time between my house and Sarah's apartment, but clearly preferring the stability and consistency I provide. Lisa and I got married last year, and we're building a life based on trust, honesty, and genuine partnership. Sarah is 37, still working in real estate though never recovering her previous income level. According to mutual acquaintances who occasionally update me, she's dated a few people, but nothing serious. She apparently tells people that I overreacted to her mistake and destroyed her life over one affair. One affair, as if 8 months of systematic deception, 48+ encounters with Jake Morrison, hundreds of lies, and using our joint money to fund her betrayal can be minimized as one affair. Sometimes people ask if I regret exposing the affair so publicly, if I think I should have handled it more privately, more gently, with more consideration for Sarah's feelings and reputation. My answer is always the same: no, because handling it privately would have given Sarah the power to control how people understood our divorce. She would have told our friends we grew apart. She would have told her family I was difficult to live with. She would have positioned herself as the victim of an unhappy marriage rather than the architect of its destruction. The public exposure, showing our parents the evidence, telling Jake's wife Michelle, letting our social circle understand what really happened, ensured that the truth was known, that I wasn't painted as the villain in my own story, that Sarah and Jake faced social consequences proportional to their choices. Was it brutal? Yes. Was it humiliating for them? Absolutely. But they'd earned that humiliation through months of deliberate, calculated deception. And here's what I've learned. The Ring camera that caught Sarah's affair wasn't installed to spy or trap anyone. It was installed to prevent package theft. The notification that changed my life came randomly during a boring Tuesday meeting. I wasn't looking for evidence of an affair. I wasn't suspicious or paranoid. I was just a husband who trusted his wife completely, who believed her when she said she was showing houses, who never imagined she'd bring another man into our home. That trust was betrayed in the most fundamental way possible. And when I discovered that betrayal, I chose not to let Sarah control the aftermath. 7 years after that Ring notification, I think about how different my life would be if we'd never installed that camera. I'd probably still be married to Sarah, still oblivious, still trusting while she continued her affair. Maybe it would have ended eventually when she or Jake got sloppy. Maybe it would have continued for years. But that $200 doorbell camera revealed the truth, gave me the evidence I needed to protect myself, allowed me to end a fraudulent marriage and build something real with someone who actually values me. Sometimes the best technology purchases aren't the ones we plan. Sometimes they're the ones that accidentally save our lives.